Hi, I'm Billy, and welcome back to Billy's VHS tapes. Holy shnikes! Today we're reviewing 1995's Tommy Boy, a classic 90s comedy about life lessons and friendship. Let's do some fun facts! The movie was produced by Lorne Michaels, who is most well known for creating Saturday Night Live, where our lead actors were both former cast members. The movie stars Chris Farley, David Spade, Julie Warner, Bo Derek, and Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe chose to go uncredited in the film because he said he wanted to be a fun surprise for the audience. He also did all of his own stunts. The fat guy in a little coat bit dates all the way back to when Farley and Spade were sharing an office on SNL. While they were writing sketches, Farley would get bored and try to make Spade laugh, resulting in one of the funniest bits in comedy history. The movie was mostly shot in Toronto, Canada, with some cleanup shots done in Los Angeles, California. At the time of filming, Farley and Spade were still cast members on SNL, and would frequently fly back and forth from Toronto to New York to film both the movie and the television show. The movie cost $20 million to make, and it brought in over $32 million at the box office. Since the movie only grossed $12 million, it was considered a box office bomb, but it gained a much larger audience after being released on home video. I love this movie. It definitely helped mold my sense of humor. Chris Farley was a personal hero to me as a kid. So without further ado, let's watch it.
And now, our feature presentation.
The movie opens and we're introduced to little Tommy Boy, who's running late for school. As he chases down the bus, we're introduced to little Richard. Not that little Richard. This little Richard. The exhaust billows out the back of the bus and covers little Tommy Boy in smoke. And with a really unique transition, we see a time lapse and a grown-up Tommy Boy steps out of the cloud. But even though he's all grown up, we see he hasn't changed much. As the opening credits roll, he runs across the college campus to make it to class on time. After 7 years, Tommy Boy has finally received his diploma and graduated with a D+.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
Later that night, Tommy celebrates with his frat buddies, and we see some classic Farley slapstick. Now that Tommy is done with college, he heads home to Sandusky, Ohio to work for the family business, a brake pad factory called Callahan Auto. Personal fun fact, Billy's VHS tapes is filmed in Ohio, not far from Sandusky. Tommy is picked up at the airport by grown-up Richard, who is less than thrilled to see him.
Are you talking?
Shut up, Richard.
At the factory, we meet Tommy's dad, Big Tom Callahan, played by Brian Dennehy. We see that Tommy and his dad have a very strong bond, and that the company has been family-owned since it opened. But recently, business hasn't been great, and Big Tom plans on rolling out some new equipment to get things back on track. Big Tom leads Tommy to his new office, where he asks Richard to look after him till he gets his feet wet.
It's called reading. Top to bottom, left to right. Group words together as a sentence. Take Tylenol for any headaches. Might offer any cramps.
The Callahan boys head home, and Big Tom introduces Tommy to his new fiancée, Beverly.
Holy shnikes.
Is that for me? No, son, that's for me.
Shortly after, Beverly's son Paul shows up, and Tommy is more than excited to have a new brother.
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug.
Bros.
Later that night, the new bros go for a drive to get to know each other.
But if I sent a picture of your mom to some of my buddies at school, she'd definitely be boner of the month.
I'm honored.
Paul is clearly not amused by Tommy. When he mentions that he's in the mood for something a little more dangerous, Tommy Boy tells him that he can give him all that he can handle. Cut to a cattle ranch where Tommy's idea of dangerous is tipping over cows. As Tommy sets up to push over the cow, he slips in the mud, falling on his face. He spooks the cows, drawing the attention of the farmer. The farmer fires off some rounds to scare the intruders off his land.
I'll save you, brother! I'm okay! Get away from me! Get up! I can walk! I love you!
They head to a gas station to hose off, and Tommy performs the flash dance.
I'm a maniac, maniac on the floor. And I'm dancing like I've never danced before.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
Why?
The next day, we see Tommy hard at work.
La la la, Luke, Luke, I am your father.
And then we're introduced to Michelle, an old high school friend of Tommy's. Michelle is in charge of shipping and seems to take a shine to Tommy Boy. We cut to the big wedding day, where Beverly and Big Tom tie the knot and they're having the time of their lives. But while Big Tom is performing a musical number with Tommy Boy, he unfortunately suffers from a heart attack. The family gather over top of him, and with a very smooth transition, we suddenly cut to his funeral. Tommy Boy and Richard are the last to leave, and Tommy takes a long walk. He winds up at Callahan Auto, where we see him sitting on the loading docks. He misses his dad, and more than that, he wonders if he'll ever be able to fill his shoes. Next, we see Tommy and Michelle on his childhood sailboat. They're stuck in the middle of the lake with no wind and take the time to reminisce about Big Tom. As they bond over their memories, some rascals on the shore begin to fat shame Tommy.
Hey lady, look out! There's a fat whale on your boat! Yeah! Free Willy!
And Michelle scares them away by acting like a total psychopath.
Listen up, you little spazoids! I know where you live and I've seen where you sleep. I swear to everything holy that your mothers will cry when they see what I've done to you!
Yikes. The next day in the boardroom, Tommy and the executives discuss the future of Callahan Auto. In order to roll out the new machinery that Big Tom was working on, Tommy must give up his stocks as collateral, making Beverly the sole heir to the family fortune. But someone's got to go across the country on Big Tom's sales trip to sell all the product. Tommy feels obligated to get out there and take his dad's place. But with no sales experience, he's gonna need some help. And since Richard was Big Tom's right-hand man, he's the perfect man for the job. With little to no options, the unlikely duo set out on the road to sell the brake pads.
Bring it on.
A lovable idiot with the weight of the world on his shoulders? Teamed up with a smug Squidward-like man? Sounds like a movie plot to me. Tommy struggles to adjust to his new life as a salesman.
No.
Okie dokie.
No.
Gotcha, thanks. Terrific. Thanks for your time.
Do you validate?
And while getting gas, Tommy begins what will become the total destruction of Richard's car.
What'd you do?
Back in Ohio, Callahan Auto is having its annual carnival night. When the workers hear that Tommy Boy's out on the road trying to save the company, they don't have much faith in him. And we find out that Beverly and Paul are banging each other. What? The big reveal, Paul and Beverly are not actually mother and son, they're actually married.
Bad mommy.
Don't call me that, it's creepy.
The plan was for Beverly to marry Big Tom and take him for all he's worth. But Big Tom passing away was not part of the plan. And while they discuss their new plan, we see what will become the total destruction of Rob Lowe. Meanwhile, while Tommy and Richard squabble over the map, they fail to see the oncoming deer in the middle of the road. After loading the deer up in the car and blowing another sail,
Can't do this anymore, man. My head's about to explode. My whole life sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. My dad just died. We just killed Bambi. I'm out here getting my ass kicked, and every time I drive down the road, I want to jerk the wheel into a goddamn bridge embankment.
the boys realize that the deer isn't actually dead. They freak out and stop the car, leading to the deer violently pushing and ripping his way out of the backseat of Richard's car.
That was awesome.
Later at the hotel, we're introduced to Ray Zielinski, played by Dan Aykroyd. Ray is an auto parts competitor who wants to buy Callahan Auto, but Tommy doesn't see him as much of a threat. Richard tells Tommy that he needs to take this seriously or they're gonna lose the company. And in an effort to cheer Richard up, we get the iconic fat guy in a little coat scene.
That guy in a little coat. fat guy in a little coat.
Take it off, dickhead. I'm serious.
Richard, what's happening?
The next day, after a nice sing-along in the car,
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? You said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Baby, 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 oh baby.
the boys spin out of control after the hood flies up and impairs their vision. Passing under a road sign rips off the hood. And Richard notices that when Tommy put oil in the engine, he forgot to take the can out. The boys then fight on the side of the road, and Richard knocks out Tommy with a 2x4.
That was a good one.
Cut to a diner where both the boys clearly feel guilty about the fight. And Tommy's face is f***ed up.
Right here. Not here or here so much, but right here.
When Tommy tries to order chicken wings, the waitress informs him that the deep fryers won't be ready until dinner time. Tommy suddenly begins to channel his inner salesman and goes off on a little tangent.
Let's say I go into some guy's office. Let's say he's even remotely interested in buying something. Well, then I get all excited. I'm like, Jojo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet. The pet is my possible sale. Oh, my pretty little pet. I love you. And then I take my naughty pet and I go, I killed my sale. That's when I blow it. That's when people like us have got to forge ahead, Helen. Am I right?
God, you're sick.
The waitress is somehow impressed by his antics and informs him that she'll go turn on the deep fryers and get some wings ready for him.
Tommy likey. Tommy want wingy.
Richard sees the salesman spark in Tommy and tells him to channel that goofy, confident energy into his sales pitch. The next sale they go to starts off a little rocky, but Tommy follows Richard's advice and they end up bringing home the sale.
Okay, I'll buy from you. Oh, that's... What?
Back in Ohio, Beverly and Paul are not pleased that Tommy Boy is starting to make progress. Paul comes up with the idea to take out the shipping trucks at Callahan Auto, but it all goes terribly wrong, and Paul ends up mauled by a security dog.
Not good.
Meanwhile, Tommy goes out to get a pizza to celebrate their first sale, while Richard enjoys the view.
Bad girl.
Hey, that's a pretty girl down there.
Good for her.
Geez, I wonder if she goes out with one of the Yankees. Sinner.
Next, we see the boys making sale after sale, putting them on the fast track to saving the company.
What day? You had your bad time, baby.
Oh! Son of a... I'm okay.
But Paul's come up with a new plan to sabotage the boys. He changes the shipping orders on Michelle's computer, mixing up all of the orders. When Tommy and Richard get back to Ohio, they find out that half of the orders have been canceled. Michelle blames herself, and she packs up her stuff and quits before anybody else can blame her as well. That night, Michelle heads to the airport to visit her parents, where she happens to catch Paul and Beverly in the act.
That mommy.
She rushes over to a payphone to call her brother, who happens to be a police officer. And for those who don't know, there used to be a phone on every street corner that you could make a phone call from for just a quarter.
Great story, Grandpa. Could have used a vampire, though.
Michelle phones her brother and asks him to run a police report on the two suspects. Later that night, Tommy and Richard are out for a late-night drive, and as Richard is finishing his last road beer, they see the flashing red and blues in their rearview mirror. Tommy uses an old trick his dad taught him in order to avoid getting arrested for drunk driving.
Bees! Bees! Bees in the car! Bees everywhere! God, they're huge! They're ripping my flesh off!
Both the officers claim that they're allergic to bees and tell the boys that they'll come back later to check on them. Worst cops ever.
The worst!
After the initial shock of his plan actually working wears off, Tommy Boy notices the billboard above him with Ray Zielinski on it. He gets the idea to go to Chicago and try to reason with Ray. Try to appeal to his honorable side, and maybe he'll understand that Callahan Auto isn't for sale. Cut to the next morning where the boys find out that the airport is completely sold out of tickets to Chicago. They bribe some flight attendants to take their place, and Tommy Boy scares the hell out of the passengers.
Inflate, put it around your neck, and yank down on the tab.
After a quick change of clothes in the airplane bathroom, the boys make their way to Ray Zielinski's headquarters in downtown Chicago. They follow Ray into the building but lose him on their way in. As they struggle to find him, Tommy Boy raises his voice to get everyone's attention, but they mistakenly think that Tommy is trying to rob the bank.
Oh, jeez.
The boys flee the scene and slip into an elevator, where Ray Zielinski just happens to be. The boys plead their case and find out that Ray isn't such a great guy. He's all business, and he ignores their pleas for help. As the doors to the boardroom close, Tommy sees what he thinks is his family inside the boardroom, ready to sell off his family business. Broken and defeated, the boys sulk on a bench outside, until Michelle shows up with some vital information.
With more vital information for your everyday life.
The background check on Beverly and Paul came back, outing them as con artists. When Tommy finds out that they lied to his dad, he comes up with a plan to get back into the boardroom.
Richard, I'm gonna need your watch. I've got a plan.
Yikes.
A news crew has shown up to cover footage on the bank robbery, and Tommy uses them to make his way upstairs. Using road flares, Tommy is strapped to his torso what looks like a bomb.
Oh, this isn't a bomb. These are road flares.
Road flares? Did you live under power lines as a kid or something?
Why?
Which he threatens to detonate if he's not allowed to talk to Ray Zielinski. Using the edge of being on live TV, Tommy convinces Ray to sign a check for $500,000 brake pads from Callahan Auto, saving the family business and all the workers' jobs. After the news crew leaves, Paul tries to call Tommy out for not having the right to be at the meeting.
Gee, funny you should bring that up, because I'm not sure that you have the right to be here.
The evidence is aired out, and Ray realizes that Tommy isn't going to be selling him the company. And when Paul realizes he's not going to escape this one, he takes off running, leading to his total destruction.
Oof, that will ruin his weekend.
Tommy and Michelle share a kiss, and the day is saved. Back in Ohio, Tommy greets his subordinates as if they were family. As their new president, he promises to bust his butt and make sure that every one of them always has a job. The movie ends with Tommy back on his sailboat, stuck in the middle of the lake with no wind again. He tells Big Tom how much he misses him, and he hopes that he's proud of him. And suddenly, as if Big Tom could hear him, a gust of wind starts to float through Tommy's sail.
Hey! Thanks, Dad! Oh, son of a... That's gonna leave a mark.
And that's it! That's Tommy Boy. This movie is definitely a time capsule from the 90s. I feel like slapstick kind of died out in the 90s because we don't get too many movies like this one anymore. Do I recommend it? I highly recommend this movie to comedy lovers and anybody who's looking for a good laugh. When Farley and Spade played off of each other, it was always comedy gold. Even when they were squabbling on set, it was always out of love. This is one of my favorite movies. I still laugh out loud when I watch this movie. I learned a lot about slapstick from Farley, and I learned a lot about sarcasm from Spade. Well, that about does it for this review. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video and tell me your thoughts in the comments. And if you're back here again and you haven't subscribed yet, what's the deal? And if you're already subscribed, make sure you share the video with all of your friends. And if you don't have any friends, well, then just refresh the video and keep watching it yourself. But seriously, thank you all for everything. Thank you for watching. Bye!